We're bogged down here. Don't run too far ahead. Don't run too far ahead. We're bogged down here. We need a key. Can you pick one up? Mind your step now.
Interesting. This path was an option too, huh?
This is more complicated than I expected.
Let's open it up and see, shall we?
It seems everyone, everywhere, is thirsty.
Not as thirsty as this game. Code Vein has been described as anime Dark Souls, and while there are some notable differences between this game and From Software's classic series, it's not a completely unfair description. At a basic level, at least, it does follow a familiar Souls-like structure, and it is very anime. It is very anime, from the character designs and general aesthetic, to the absolutely bonkers plot, to the very long, waffly cutscenes and characters that won't shut up, to what the cool kids these days call... Hang on, let me check my notes here. What do the cool kids call them these days? Ah, yes. Tiddies! Anime... tiddies! There's lots of that going on. But it's not a bad game. I quite like it, and that's as far as I'd go to say. I would dare to put my name on that statement. I quite like it. I'm not in love with it, but it's enjoyable, though it did take me a while to reach that enjoyment. It's a slow burn in terms of not outwardly disliking the game, which is what I felt in the first hour, maybe in the first 2 hours. I didn't quite get with it, because there are some barriers to the enjoyment that I think some people are going to feel. From what I've seen, this has garnered something of a mixed response, and I totally understand why anyone would not actually like the game. It's dense in terms of like getting into the game's world and plot. It's full of made-up nonsense terms. You think you're just getting into a fun game about vampires, but no. The moment you start it up, it's talking about how revenants come back from the dead because of parasites or something, and there are blood veins and blood codes and vestiges that you use to unlock blood codes, and it starts off with a boring tutorial that laboriously explains all sorts of systems. It takes ages for you to actually get into the game proper because of these long-winded cutscenes. And if you're expecting a straightforward Souls-like game, you might be taken aback by the extra complexity that's involved in Code Vein. Not to mention that the combat itself doesn't always feel quite as responsive as it is in other Souls-like games, and the enemies can be a real pain to fight before you truly understand what they're about. Their ability to track you when they start an attack is really jarring, and many of the enemies have moves that cover an incredible amount of ground. So you might think you've dodged and you're in a good position to attack, but nope, they've spun around and also created such a wide arc with their weaponry that they'll hit you regardless. You can parry, but I never found that too reliable. And you can block, but here it's really not an efficient way to deal with enemy attacks. More often than not, you'll take a hit and lose stamina in the process. It's just not worth it. What I found, if you're like me and you're not a parrier, the way I've found to deal with most enemies is 9 times out of 10, what you want to do is dodge directly into them. If they're big, you'll go right under their legs. If they're not, you'll often just sweep past and behind them anyway. The more I played the game, the more I realized that dodging right into and through the enemy is really the best thing to do, especially because if you hit them from behind, you can draw ichor from them, pulling off a back attack where you basically shove your weapon right up the enemy's arse and pull it out and send blood spraying everywhere. It's charming. You need ichor, which is basically MP. It's your magic pool to pull off various gifts. Now, these come from your blood codes, and you know what? Let's dispense with the terminology. Let's let's discuss this in simple layperson's terms. Ichor is MP, your blood code is your character class, and your gifts are your skills. God, not everything needs a made-up term, but anyway. You have a wide variety of character classes to choose from, with various stat changes that are bestowed upon your character and access to different gifts, different skills. These range from simple ones like the Fighter, which has various offensive abilities, to my current favourite one, the Dark Seeker, which deals with poisons. It can lay down a poison trap, it can fire poison shots. There's a really deep and interesting variety of character classes available, and you can switch between them on the fly. Whenever you want, it's as simple as opening up the menu and swapping them out. The more you use a class, the more the skills in that class gain experience, and when they reach their max capacity, you can use those skills regardless of what class you have currently equipped. So if one class has a skill you really like, but you don't necessarily enjoy the class, you can level up that skill by temporarily using the class or just spending some resources to buy that skill outright. So there's a lot of mixing and matching you can do, and as you explore the world, you will find these vestiges out there which you can bring back to your home base to unlock the memories associated with them, and that's a whole thing in and of itself. But that'll advance the class and unlock even more skills for use. There are passive and active abilities, and in order to use active abilities in the field, you need that aforementioned Ichor. Now you get Ichor, and you can actually expand your Ichor pool when you fight. There is a dedicated attack used for drawing Ichor out, but it requires a not all too forgiving charge time, so it's only best used in real opportunistic moments. You will get Ichor with a successful parry attack, or as I said earlier, you can get it if you perform a back attack, and I really wish there was an icon that let you know when you were able to perform a back attack, because sometimes you will swear you are hitting the enemy right in their arsehole, but you're just doing regular attacks anyway. The combat itself is a little bit floaty and doesn't always feel all that responsive. It's just not quite as satisfying as Dark Souls or the recently released Surge 2. The lock-on system is a little bit awkward. I don't have trouble with this in other action games like this, but I have trouble sometimes gauging the distance between myself and the enemy, or certainly the amount of ground that my attacks cover. Now, the game isn't super hard. Dark Souls is more challenging once you work out the best way to deal with enemies. However, Code Vein has attempted to make up for that in two distinct ways. One way is ambushes. This game saw the little moments in Dark Souls where you'll be ambushed by something hiding behind boxes or hanging from a ledge, and it does it constantly. It's not too bad once you know to just keep an eye on every ledge, every ceiling, every box, just looking for things that are hiding. But it nonetheless feels a little uninspired and gets old after a while. And the other way is damage output and your ability to heal. Enemies hit hard. Even if you're leveling up at a fair clip, a single successful hit from even a regular enemy can take damn near half your HP bar down, and your healing items will not recover that back. Your ability to regenerate health is piss weak, but the enemy's ability to take that health down is shit strong. And again, it doesn't make the game especially challenging, it just makes it annoying. I've not really struggled to get through this game. But like with the ambushes, once I got used to it, I just got over it at the same time. I just got a bit fucked off with it. Really, if the game doesn't want me to heal that much, I'd rather it give me fewer healing items that heal more health. At least then I wouldn't be hammering the same button over and over again just to get back to full strength. Of course, ideally you shouldn't be getting hit, and you can mitigate these annoyances by knowing the surroundings better, getting good at the dodging or the parrying if you are a parrier, and relying on your in-game partner. There's a variety of allied characters at your home base, and you can choose to partner with one of them and they'll come out and help you fight, and they are surprisingly helpful. Like, imagine how useless your allied AI characters in Gears of War are. They're not that. Imagine that, but the opposite of that. They are so useful, and they've saved my ass in a number of boss fights. They will jump into battle and fight alongside you, and if you get killed while they're still running around and they've got the ability to do it, they will sacrifice some of their health and bring you back. That's not an infinite resource, as it makes the partner character very vulnerable, but as I said, it saved my ass. And if you're still struggling, there is online co-op. You can summon someone, you can send out a distress signal, and anyone looking for it can pick it up and join your game. And as someone who's always enjoyed offering co-op assistance as a Sunbro in Dark Souls, I very much appreciate the opportunity to do so here. However, there is a catch. There is a dark payment, a pact that must be made in order to enjoy the assistance of an AI character, and that's the sacrifice of your very patience, because your AI partner will not ever shut the fuck up. It's Dragon's Dogma all over again, and it's not just that they repeat the same lines ad nauseum, although they do, it's that they comment on everything you do, like a kid looking over your shoulder going, "What you doing, huh? What you doing? What you doing, huh? Why are you doing that? What you doing now? Why? Why? But why? Oh, running too far ahead, are you? Oh, going near some ledges, are you? Open that chest. You found a new path. You're in an area I don't want to do a fight in. Oh, what are you doing now? Oh, let's fight these enemies. Oh, that door is locked. Do you have a key? No, I don't have a fucking key. If I had a key, I'd open the fucking door. You can't even check your inventory without comment from these fuckers. They will sit there while you're trying to go through your items and just say, "Oh, checking your gear, are you?" Yes! Yes, I am checking my gear! It's obvious I'm checking my... I do not need commentary on every little thing I do. It's creepy, if nothing else. The masterwork's all, you can't go wrong. A bit of poison on my blade, and let's go! But the AI partners are so good in a scrap that you can't hate them. Visually, the game has a great art style for characters, at least I feel, and enemies. I love the enemy designs in this game. The bosses are inventive. The regular monsters have these really great twisted looks to them. They're all supposed to be revenants that have lost it because they got too thirsty and they couldn't find blood. And characters have to wear gas masks out in the world because there's some poison miasma or whatever that makes the thirst worse. So there's tons of these twisted, vampiric, undead monsters with gas masks. And I love a good gas mask. I think they're cool. So the fact there's tons of them in Code Vein gets an aesthetic thumbs up from yours truly. Speaking of aesthetics, the character creation in this game is incredibly impressively robust. You get a full suite of facial and hair changes. You can colour things exactly what you want, so of course I went with garish pinks. You can get tons of accessories. I got that dapper hat just from character creation. That's not something you have to buy from a friggin' microtransaction store. That's not something you even find in the game. You start with the dapper hat, and you can change it all out on a whim. You can't get as freaky as you can with the character creation in something like Soul Calibur, but it's close in terms of the flexibility of where and how you place accessories and stuff like that, and the color palettes for the clothing and the accessories. It's... Why aren't games like this? Why aren't more games like this? Why can't they give you that much flexibility without asking for more money? Oh yeah, all the greed. It is a shame that environments aren't really very detailed, or they don't really carry a history with themselves. Like, you go out into the actual places where you fight, and there's some geographic variety, like a ruined city or a snowy tundra, but they're fairly open and plain. Not like something in Dark Souls where you can see there's a rich visual history everywhere you go. The architecture is bland, and it's just there to have something to fight in. As for the sound, the voice acting it's standard. There's not a lot of charisma going on, but the music is really nice, especially when you find these vestiges and you fix them by going into their memories. Like I said, it's a whole thing. But you see the memories of the characters whose classes you're essentially using, and there's this beautiful music that plays during those segments. While I've got a lot of caveats for Code Vein, I have been enjoying it. Like I said, it took me a while to get used to the way it does things, and it doesn't do things as elegantly as Dark Souls or, you know, something like The Surge 2. But it's still quite fun because of that great character creator and the sheer flexibility with character classes and abilities. It has its own unique flavour in a sea of Souls-like games. And despite the annoyances in combat, it's still quite fun. If you get really aggressive with it and you duck and weave and hit, I don't know why I said hit and hit. Stick and move, that's the fucking term. But anyway, at least when I got more aggressive, more up in enemies' faces, or to be more blunt, up in their bumholes around the back. I went from not really planning to pick the game up again once I'd done this video to rather looking forward to popping back in and playing a bit more. So that's your Code Vein. I don't think it's going to be to everyone's tastes, even if you're someone who likes Souls-likes. You may not get on with this one because it does have a unique feel, and that feel is not going to be to even a hardened Dark Souls fan's tastes necessarily. But if you like the idea of combat with a breezier tactile feel and a ton of skills and character classes to mix and match and experiment with, then Code Vein may have something for you. It's a game not without its charms, and I'm rather fond of it. Oh, and the titties. The game is titties as well. It's what the cool kids call them, isn't it?